When it comes to lost international dubs for TV shows, they are generally considered in the lost media community to be at the bottom of the barrel for searching. Unless you embrace the forbidden wiki, most people don't care about documenting and finding literally every single international dub for every single TV show in existence. There, of course, are exceptions to this. Whether it's an English dub of an anime that has become lost media, or a dub of a popular show that has strange differences from its original source material, there are dubs out there that people actually care about searching for, at least compared to your typical Rory the Race Car rare US dub or something like that. But there's adaptations for a specific show that so many people grew up with that rivals even these in terms of the search effort behind them. As you probably read the title, I am of course talking about Blue's Clues. That's right, the classic Nick Jr. show that many kids from the late 90s and early 2000s remember has various international adaptations that are just as fascinating as they are obscure. This fascination likely comes from seeing all the differences these dubs have from the nostalgic show, as well as the lost media aspect of it, of course. All of this combined together makes the searches for these adaptations that much more captivating than your average dub. So today, we'll be going down the interesting rabbit hole of the various lost adaptations of Blue's Clues. Before we dive into the interesting story of these adaptations, I'm going to give some brief background info for the two of you who don't know what Blue's Clues is. Blue's Clues is a preschool TV series that aired from 1996 to 2006 on the preschool-oriented block of Nickelodeon, Nick Jr. The show is the brainchild of creators Angela C. Santamero, Tracy Page Johnson, and Todd Kessler, who were hired by Nickelodeon to create a preschool show to air on their Nick Jr. block. After this, they set out to research for something much more unique than your average preschool show. The result? Blue's Clues. And with 9 Emmy Award nominations under the show's belt, it didn't disappoint. The show follows Steve, and later Joe, looking for various blue paw prints called clues, placed by his blue dog named, well, Blue. The ultimate goal in an episode was to find 3 of these clues, revolving around a specific academic theme such as numbers or shapes. On the hunt for these clues, various puzzles would be solved with the audience and many antics would ensue, whether it was hanging out with sentient salt and pepper shakers or getting a letter in the mail. But in the end, all of the clues would be found and put together, leading to the sweet conclusion of an episode. Right out of the gate, Blue's Clues was praised by both critics and audiences alike. On one hand, critics praised the show for its innovative concept, where the host would directly engage with its preschool audience on finding clues or solving puzzles. It's crazy to think that while direct engagement with the audience in a children's show is commonplace today, it was a relatively new concept at the time of Blue's Clues' premiere. On the other hand, both the preschool audience and parents ate the show up. This made it one of the most successful Nick Jr. shows of all time, and being one of the channel's most merchandised shows ever. The show even had a live stage production starting in 1999, and a reboot titled Blue's Clues and You premiered in 2019 and is continuing to this day. With all this success, both critically and commercially, it's no wonder that various international dubs and adaptations of the show would be produced for other countries. In fact, the show would eventually be syndicated into a whopping 120 countries and translated into 15 languages, including Spanish, French, and Japanese. While these dubs were very successful, it was simply a dub over the original show, and nothing else of note was changed much. Personally, what I think is more interesting than these simple dubs, and many people think this way too, are the various international adaptations of the show that have made their way onto the airwaves in other countries. These adaptations, in fact, were not simple dubs, as many had completely different hosts than Steve and Joe. From a lost media standpoint as well, these adaptations have become far more obscure over time than most other dubs of the show. While some of the other regular dubs of the show have had at least some episodes become lost over time, these full adaptations are on a whole other level of obscurity. This could be due to the fact that these episodes have never had a widespread home media presence, with home recordings being the only feasible way to find episodes of these versions. From this point on, I will be talking about these very fascinating adaptations of Blue's Clues that have become lost over time, or at least the ones that have an article on the Lost Media Wiki. I will also talk about the extraordinary search effort behind them, all fueled by nostalgia and the rush of hunting for these lost treasures, or clues, whatever floats your boat. But anyways, let's dive in. One of the first big international adaptations for Blue's Clues to be produced that wasn't a simple dub was for the British market. Surprisingly, Nickelodeon did not take the cheap way out and just simply export the original show in American English to the UK, but went all out to make the show fit with British audiences, just like how the creators did with American audiences. And when I mean all out, I mean just a simple host change. These host changes are going to become somewhat of a theme in this video, as they are how you can tell a full adaptation of the show from a typical dub. For this adaptation, they would bring British presenter and actor Kevin Duwala, who even outside of Blue's Clues has built up quite a resume for himself over the years. While there has never been an official statement from Nickelodeon on why they changed the host of the British adaptation specifically, it is most likely to not confuse kids between the differences between American and British English. After all, Blue's Clues is a show about learning first and foremost, so it's better not to confuse kids on how to pronounce specific words. Even with the change in hosts, the general format of the show would stay the same. Kevin and Blue would still go around the house trying to find clues, placed by Blue herself, with fun and educational antics along the way. Of course, there are other small differences as well, such as the aforementioned changes in names and dialogue to fit a British audience. An example of this is the mailbox's name being changed to Postbox. Supplemental characters were also given different voice actors to fit with the new host as well. I personally liked this version of the show. Kevin, while not as well known in the general public as Steve, he makes up for it by his talent on the screen, and I'm certainly not alone with this sentiment. This adaptation, like the original show, became a pop culture hit in the UK, spawning much merchandise and entertaining many British preschoolers while making Kevin Duwala a household name. I guess lightning really did strike twice and then some for Nickelodeon. This, of course, sustained the idea that full adaptations of Blue's Clues for other countries could be successful, and thus more of them were produced. This version of the show aired from 1998 to 2003 for 75 episodes, adapting various episodes from the original American version of the show. The show would continue to air reruns on Nick Jr. UK up until at least 2014. Despite the widespread popularity of the British version, the show never had a widespread home media presence and was never seen outside of the United Kingdom. The show is listed to be a part of Amazon Prime UK, but most of the episodes are simply from the original American version of the show. All of the British episodes were also available onto the UK streaming site Love Film, until 2014 when the site was renamed to Amazon Instant Video UK. Very little of the original British version of the show has ever surfaced online since, with only a few clips and promos all being what's left of this adaptation of the show. This was until early 2021, when YouTube user Mr. WimpyKid27 uploaded 70 episodes of the British adaptation onto the file sharing site Mega. This only left 5 episodes still remaining lost to this day. These include Season 5, Episode 13, The Baby's Here, Season 6, Episode 1, Something to Do Blue, Season 6, Episode 4, Blue's Backyard Ball Game Bonanza, Season 6, Episode 7, I'm So Happy, and Season 6, Episode 10, Can You Help? Hopefully these episodes will be found someday, because I know so many people are very nostalgic for this version of the show, and want to see every episode with Kevin and Blue's antics again. But trust me, this isn't even the most obscure version of the show that I will be talking about today, as the other 2 adaptations I will be mentioning have far more mystery surrounding them. After the success of the British adaptation of Blue's Clues, it's no wonder that the show would eventually make it to the Far East, so Nickelodeon would set their sights on making a Korean adaptation of Blue's Clues, which meant it was time to change the host. In this adaptation, they would bring on comedian Hyun Sup Shin, who in the show is referred to as Uncle. The differences extend beyond a simple host change, as another theme song for this version was also created, with it now being a part of a Korean folk song. Other than that, it's about what you would expect from a Korean adaptation of Blue's Clues. Although I obviously don't speak Korean, I can definitely still see the charm and ideals of what this adaptation had in mind. Hyun Shoop's uncle character definitely was a decent replacement for Steve, and I know so many people have nostalgia for this version of the show specifically. This version of the show would also become a hit in its home country, with even the Blue's Clues Wikipedia article going out of its way to state that the Korean version became a part of pop culture in South Korea. The show would not be aired on an international version of Nickelodeon, instead airing on the South Korean channel KBS2 from July 24, 2000 to November 3, 2001. Episodes have been noticeably hard to come by after the show's run on KBS2, probably due to the lack of home media releases again, leading to the show to become lost media. Out of the 10 episodes that are known to be produced from the adaptation, only 5 of those episodes are found, 1 being partially found, and 4 being completely lost. Episodes have been found in various ways, such as various Korean bloggers posting screenshots and the theme song for the show online, and a full episode resurfacing on YouTube on June 16, 2020 by user Shining Road TV. 4 episodes also seem to be on a Google Photos album, but it seems that they were taken down a while ago, which may affect how many episodes are actually available and what the wiki says. Various short clips of other episodes have also made their way online. Now, the Korean version of this show was actually one of the first adaptations of Blue's Clues to be known in the general lost media community, because for a while the only known footage of the Korean version of the show was in the 2006 special, Behind the Clues, 10 Years with Blue, which detailed the history and production of Blue's Clues for the show's 10-year anniversary. This is also the special that had and still currently has the only known clips of the Blueprints pilot, so there's a connection to another piece of lost media. As for the Korean version, we can only hope that one day more episodes will resurface for one of the most searched for adaptations of a children's show ever, and television in general. But even the lack of info on this adaptation of the show pales in comparison to the third and final version I will be mentioning today in this video. Because of the success of the other 2 adaptations of Blue's Clues, Nickelodeon wouldn't be just done yet with fully adapting the show into other languages. So, sometime in the early 2000s, another version of the show would be produced, this time in Portuguese. This version would be known as As Pistas da Blue, and would bring in Portuguese actor Duarte Gomes as the main spot in the thinking chair. Typical Blue's Clues antics would occur with our pal Duarte in Blue, with the show mostly being the same as the American version, but of course in the Portuguese language. I'm guessing you probably see the pattern with these adaptations by now. Unfortunately, not a lot of information for this version of the show is known to the general public, at least compared to the other adaptations of the show. What we do know is that this adaptation would air on the Portuguese channel RTP2 in the early 2000s. The exact dates of when it premiered and ended are unknown. Despite this, much of the series has surfaced online, giving us a good look at what Portuguese Blue's Clues had to offer. Out of the 60 episodes known to be produced from this adaptation, only 18 episodes are considered only partially or completely lost. Now, I actually have personal experience searching for the Portuguese version of the show, and was actually working with a few people in the Lost Media Wiki Discord server to help track down episodes. In my travels, I was able to find 2 Mediafire links containing 2 episodes of this adaptation. I was even able to uncover several Dailymotion accounts by the same person, who uploaded many La Pistas da Blue episodes in parts there. It was a pretty fun search, I'd say, and shoutouts to the 2 people who actually cared and helped search with me. You know who you are. So as for Duarte and friends, I know from personal experience that more episodes are out there somewhere. You just gotta know where you are looking, and maybe you'll find some gold. And this goes for all of the adaptations I've mentioned so far. These searches are fueled by the people who grew up with these adaptations, realized that they are lost, and jumped in on the search. You can be one of these people, not just searching for some different versions of a show about a guy in a green striped shirt who has a blue dog, but for the endless void that is lost media. Check some old VHS tapes, make contacts, work as a team, and do whatever you can before a piece of media is lost forever. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, you'll stumble onto the clues to the treasure, the Blue's Clues that is. If you liked this video, make sure to support the channel by clicking the thumbs up button, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos. This was Bray Bray, thanks for watching, and remember that Buff Yoshi is forever supreme.